Welcome to a new edition of If I Ever Live to Be. I really think about how I'm going to intro these shows when we get on and we join. And the same sentiment I come to is I'm always excited about each interview. And I say that and I'm like, I hope that doesn't come off as disingenuous because I'm truly excited about every new episode. Each story is unique, and Jody and I connected. We connected on LinkedIn, and we already had like some very similar kind of parallel paths in our lives. So I'm so excited to welcome Jody Hudson on the show. She is CEO and founder of the Alex Hudson Lyme Foundation. So Jody, welcome.
Oh my gosh, Whitney, I love these connections that God makes in our lives. And I'm just so honored to be on this podcast with you.
Yes, me too. Amen to that. I definitely want to start with what you do today with the Alex Hudson Lyme Foundation. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention that you have a book, My Promise to Alex, which came out in 2022. I took a look at the website. I read a little bit about Alex's story. I would love for you to share her story. And to just tee it up, one of the stats on the site that I saw that just shocked me because I did not know this. Interestingly enough, I did have a friend in middle school that had Lyme disease. One of the sweetest women that I think I've ever met. I still remember, I don't even know where she is today, but I remember our friendship in middle school. And she was confined to a wheelchair and she just had such an energy about her, a really just a faith, a looking forward, despite the fact that she did not know how this disease is going to impact her. But I did not realize 4 school buses of children a day are diagnosed with
Yeah.
Lyme disease. That is mind-boggling to me. So with that, I'm going to turn this over and just share about Alex and how this foundation came about.
Oh my gosh. So that is why I had to write a book because there's so much to say about this that I can't even do her story justice in the 30 minutes, but just a quick snippet to bring listeners up to speed. So, Alex, when she was in about fifth grade, started developing joint pain and inflammation. And because she had been playing sports at such a young age, like at 5, 6 years old, the doctors just thought, "Oh, it's an overworked body, it's growing pains, it's something that she's gonna outgrow." Well, she never did, and it progressively got worse and worse till she was in high school, and she was on the basketball court, dribbling down the court, and she suddenly fell to the ground, and her knees were like the size of grapefruit, and she literally had to be carried off the court. We took her to the doctors right away. They said that she had, uh, you know, some issues with her knees, that we needed to do knee surgery. So we had her do the right knee surgery. But then when we realized that it didn't really help anything, we put a stop on that and said, wait a minute, we need to back up because this is not solving any problems and we don't want to make anything worse. Here we are on this journey, and it was 40 doctors, 40 doctors later, when Alex was 21 years old in 2017, that we found this doctor down at Cedar Sinai who, within the first 5 minutes of me bringing him up to speed on her medical history of 10 years going misdiagnosed and undiagnosed correctly, asked me the question that to this day just still blows my mind. He said, "Mrs. Hudson, has Alex ever been tested before for Lyme disease?" And ignorantly, I asked him, "What is Lyme disease?" So
Mhm.
that was 2017. Now today, I mean, obviously I speak on it. I could be a doctor on it myself, but yeah, it was just unfortunately a disease that not many people in the medical profession really thought about and looked at because Lyme disease masks so many other autoimmune issues, whether it's, lupus, whether it's arthritis. And so they don't really, look at Lyme disease. They look at all of these other markers. And when they check them off and say, "Oh, this came back negative, she doesn't have this. Oh, this came back negative, she doesn't have that." You're just kinda, like, stuck, like, "Well, something's wrong with her, what is it?"
Yeah.
So thank God we found that 40th doctor who, tested her for Lyme disease. In fact, she did come back positive with it. And then it was from 2017 until she passed in 2018 that I literally went cross country trying to find the best treatment for Alex. Because as a parent, that's what we do with our children, right? We fix things, whether it's when they're little, we fix their, scraped knees. As they get older, we try and fix their broken hearts from relationships. Well, I was faced with this, unimaginable task of trying to fix a disease that had been in Alex's body for over 10 years and had just wreaked havoc on every organ. Yeah, it was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah. Um, this I did not look up this information, but I'm curious as to how this disease developed. Is it something that comes on along with birth? Like, how does it kind of show up and progress?
Exactly. So Lyme disease is caused by a tick, and it's a dirty tick. So the dirty tick is carrying bacteria that once it enters your system, if you aren't aware that you have been bit by a tick, because only 35% of those individuals that get bit by a tick develop what's called a bullseye rash on the point of origin on their skin. So if you've been bit by a tick and you see that bullseye rash, put two and two together. Oh my goodness, I need to get to my doctor. I need to get on a round of antibiotics. And if you catch it within time, it can be cleared in your system. 10 years in someone's body, it can't be cleared in your system that quickly. So now we go from, you know, active to a chronic illness, which that was what Alex had. And unfortunately, Whitney, when you get Lyme disease, you're just not getting Lyme disease. You also get co-infections. It can be Bartonella. It can be a host of other co-infections. So not only are you trying to treat the Lyme disease, which presents its own symptoms, you're also trying to treat these co-infections that have symptoms of their own. So whether it's brain fog, whether it's the joint pain, whether it's the digestive issues, it's a whole host of symptoms. So, you go to the doctor and the doctor is trying to help you to get some comfort from these symptoms. And you look at your most pressing symptom, you try and attack that first. And then once you get that cleared, then you move on to the other ones. Well, now, Alex having this in her system for over 10 years, we couldn't get a leg up that quickly, and we were running out of time. I mean, her body was trying to fight the best that it could, but she just, was running out of steam.
So you mentioned that you lost Alex. Please kind of walk through that um, as much as you're comfortable with and remind me of her age. I feel like you said she made it to
20,
21.
20, yeah. So she was 21 when she was finally diagnosed with a correct illness, and then she was 22 when she passed. Now, you and I talked quickly, but before we started recording about your friend and other people that are listening to this podcast right now. We know several people in our lives that are faced with these unimaginable illnesses or challenges and these things that just knock people to their feet. But what's the most impressive thing is that these same people continue to rise, they continue to battle, they continue to fight. And in Alex's case, that was her. And it was because of her faith that she really kept going and she would reach out to others. The Lyme community is such a wonderful, supportive community. There were so many different chat groups and support groups, and social media gets a good review and bad reviews. But in this particular case, for people that are bedridden and that are dealing with challenges, it acts as such a source of comfort and support. So she really connected with a lot of people in the Lyme community. She was there supporting them as they were supporting her. But literally, her faith became so much stronger in that last year. It was such a great testimony of her faith that she was battling so much pain from her disease, but never once, Whitney, did she even take any pain medication, not even Tylenol. She wanted to be so present in her faith walk with God and not to miss anything that she just every day kept surrendering over and over to Him. And she read about redemptive suffering and she realized that she could attach her suffering to others. And so that really also kind of gave her a sense of comfort and a sense of accomplishment because she had so much taken away, but yet she was able to bring so much on in that journey towards the end.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's gosh, so many places my mind goes because when you hear those stories, I have not a mother yet, and so therefore I don't know really anything about being a mother and all those emotions that come with it. But I imagine whenever I hear a story about someone so young losing their life, my mind always goes to what could have been, right? And what were they gonna grow up to be? But not only that, all the moments that I think that you probably think of when you have a child of where are they gonna go to school and college, and they're gonna get married and have their own children and their career and all these things that didn't get to happen. But I love how you're tying in this faith aspect of she still believed in all of her heart that this is a purpose. There is a reason that this is happening. And wow, what courage, because I feel like that almost falls into that, I'll pray for you when someone says you're going through something difficult and it's like, I'll pray for you. And it's like, that's so easy to say. It's one of the most important things we can do. But that's almost like not even the full comfort of what we need in that moment. And we just try to do the best we can as, individuals reaching out and offering that comfort. So the fact that Alex, just in spite of all that pain and this lifelong journey of trying to find out what is going on, what's happening, she really came to the conclusion of, okay, there's a purpose. And she just wanted to be connected to Christ and her faith and continue on that foundation.
And you know what, Whitney, everything that you said as a mother, absolutely all those things flashed in front of me. She had a full ride scholarship to UCLA and she couldn't follow up on that. So she tried to just do online studies from her bed, hoping and thinking that one day she would be able to be a Bruin. And that never came to fruition. Thinking of all of her friendships and relationships. And one of her best friends just got married last week. And she sent me a picture of this ladder that she did. And she had pictures there of everybody that had passed on that she still wanted to be part of her wedding. And of course, Alex's picture was there. My niece, when she got married, had a beautiful floral arrangement that was honoring Alex. So, I think of all those things and not seeing her, become a bride and me being a grandmother. But if we really are truly walking in faith, we need to turn that. And for me, when she passed, and she gave me this beautiful parting gift of actually opening up her eyes and looking up to the ceiling of her bedroom and having this huge big smile on her face before she passed. And I tell people that was the parting gift that she gave me because she was telling me, Mom, you know what? My work here on earth is done. At 22 years old, God is calling me up, but you have so much more still to do on this earth. So,
Mm,
okay, we are going to be reunited again, but it's not your time. So keep moving forward, do all the things that we talked about, and to be there with you in spirit. And so that's really what launched me from a grieving mother into someone that not only gives testimonials, gives these stories, but someone who is honoring their daughter through the foundation, through the book I wrote, through speaking to helping others, going through tough losses in life, trying to be that light for others. So it was a beautiful kind of, I say, passing of the baton from daughter to mother.
yeah. Um, I feel like, There's countless books, there's so much study on what is that resiliency piece that all the successful people of the world have. I think there's so much more to be said there about faith. It really is that, which is another one of those phrases we hear often, the peace that surpasses understanding, right? I don't think you fully know that or fully feel that until you were in that moment. I know it's a little bit different of dynamic, but my mother passed the year I turned 30. She was 59.
Mm.
And I can say that I felt that. I don't know how I I got through planning what she wore and picking out all the things that have to go with the ceremony and making it through the service and being at the gravesite. Like, I can't really tell you how I got through all that other than I knew God was with me, and there really was that peace that, finally I felt like, okay, that's that explanation that it's beyond explanation, but in that moment, you know where it is and where it's coming from.
Yep, absolutely. And, I talk so much about Alex, obviously, but just my own upbringing giving me resilience to be able to handle what Alex was going through and then ultimately her death. Because right from birth, I mean, it was a struggle for me. I was born to a single mother who couldn't care for me. She placed me in foster care. From foster care, I was adopted, but unfortunately, both of my adoptive parents battled alcoholism. And so I tell people I spent most of my childhood forgetting, trying to forget about my childhood. So just imagine all throughout my childhood, I just kept thinking, my gosh, when I'm a mom, this is what I want to do so differently. Like that's all I wanted was to, have that all American dream, get married, have children, have that home with a white picket fence. And I had all of that. But then in 2011, it all came crumbling down. My husband left me after 20 years of marriage. We had bankruptcy to deal with. And then I also was dealing with Alex's, medical mystery. And what you said, I so resonate with, where you go through these things in life and you don't realize that God is building up that resilience in you to handle things down the road. And people to this day will say, "Gosh, you know what, Jody, like, how did you move forward after losing a child? And how were you able to reinvent yourself? And how are you able to speak about all of this?" And I look back to those early years where it was just me. And I think a lot of people can resonate that with that, where they're going through life and things just happen where, of course, we have God, but you don't have a lot of other resources in your life. And you know what? You got to pick yourself up from your own bootstraps there and keep on keeping on, right? And so that
Mhm.
has just been my motto is just keep on keeping on, Jody.
I think when we connected on LinkedIn, you used the words "I'm a product of," and and you listed all those things that you just mentioned. And it's
Yes.
like, yeah, you know what? We are a product of that. It is just really, as Alex faced what she was going through, everything that we go through is for a purpose. It is developing something within us. Very same as far as my mother was an alcoholic as far back as I can remember. I'm very thankful for my dad, who was really kind of the lighthouse in a lot of those storms. And I do know that my mom loved me very much, and I think she gave love the best way that she knew how. But same thing that she got hurt when she was older, ended up breaking her back, had back surgery. But with back surgery comes painkillers, and then you start mixing. Yeah, so it just got worse. And then fast forward years after that, same thing. I'm going through a divorce that I never expected. Of course, you never do, right? When you're standing up there and you're declaring your love and you say I do, that's never what you think you're gonna have to face years down the road. So, but it's really interesting, I look back and I just did this study of Ruth. I just finished it. And it goes through the genealogy to where we get to Jesus. And I'm like, my goodness, he has been using us broken people since the beginning of time.
Yes, I mean, it's amazing to think that, So many people are like, where are you, God, in all of this mess? And when you look back, you're like, he was right there. I just didn't recognize it because I was so engulfed with all of my selfishness and all of my woe is me. And I remember even going through stuff with Alex where I had this conversation with God. I was so mad at him. And God
Yeah.
understands that we are human, right? I mean, we have those feelings. We love God, but at the same time, we're like, hey, if things aren't happening how we want them to happen, we get a little mad with him. So I was having this conversation with God. I'm like, okay, here's the deal. Like, you either fix Alex or you take her right now because this purgatory, it's not working out for me. Like, I can't do this any longer. So here you go, God. I was giving him an ultimatum. How stupid was I?
Well, the interesting thing of that though is that I think God is okay with that as long as we come to him and acknowledge that, like, but you have the ultimate say. I think of Job, right? Job was giving God the what for and the how come. Now, God set him straight, but Job was like, yo, what's going on, man? I've lost this, I've lost this, I've lost this. Do you know what you're doing type thing?
And obviously, he
Yes.
wanted him to endure a lot more.
Yes. And I think as long as we bring that to God, as long as we continue to bring him our sorrow and bring him our questions and bring him the why, I think he eventually answers all the time. It's not immediate. It may not always be the answer. It's not always the answer that we want, but I think he always answers us in some form or fashion.
Yeah, he doesn't. It's really up to us to listen for that guidance, that direction. I mean, for example, like with my book. So, we met through LinkedIn. I'm a businesswoman. Like, I was in retail for 20 some years and switched
Yeah.
into the nonprofit field where that's where my servant's heart just really flourished. I loved doing that work. And then I was a major gift officer with Dignity Hospital until I retired in August just to focus on Alex's foundation. But after she passed, I started her foundation. And then I kept getting this nudge to write a book. And I'm like, yo, God, like, I'm not a writer. I don't do creative writing. Like, give me a grant. I can knock it out like that. But to bare my soul, are you kidding
Yeah.
me? But he kept nudging at me, nudging at me. And so I sat down and here I am, working full time for Catholic Charities and nonprofit, starting Alex's foundation, doing fundraising for her foundation. And then he's just going to throw in, oh, you can write a book. You have time. But I did it. Like, within 4 months, it was done. It was knocked out. Now ask me to do it today. And I'd be like, Whitney, you're crazy. I can't do that. But if you listen to him, he equips you, he gives you the resources, he gives you the stamina, and you just get it done. And the blessings that have come from that book and the people that to this day, I mean, it was released in 2022, but to this day that reach out to me that are either, so inspired by Alex's story, her faith walk, but then also from the whole, as we opened up your interview in the beginning, just with Lyme disease, like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I didn't realize all these different treatments. So it really has become such a beautiful book for so many people. But had I not listened to God, I wouldn't have had that book.
Yeah. Um, Jody, I want to ask you a question, and the answer may be so simple as to just maybe the answer is just pray. Maybe the answer is just sit with me. Maybe the answer is just listen when I need someone to listen. And this may not even be the most eloquent way to ask this, but I feel like I would want to know, and I feel like it's probably a question many of listeners want to know, because what I can tell you is on my side of what I've been through, I'm now coming out. I went through the Job years to continue to pull off of, but God gave me my business back. He blessed me with it, and he brought a godly, strong, praying in the word man back into my life, which is something that I never expected. Like my husband Scott today, he's direct, godsend, and I didn't see him coming and I didn't expect him, which is often the best gifts, right? So I use so much of that. I'm like, okay, this is something that I've gone through. And whenever I meet a woman that's going through the same or similar circumstances, I love to just take a moment to speak into her that, I promise. I can't promise you what is coming, but I promise that you won't feel this way forever. But that's
Right.
really the only thing that I can promise them. In your situation, your daughter passed,
Mhm.
and no amount of "I'm gonna pray for you" brings her back. So I think sometimes in that moment, that's what, can make faith hard is what do we do or what do we say? Or in those moments, we're like, "This situation's actually not gonna change. What do we do?"
Right. So, as far as giving counsel, giving advice to others, because trust me, after Alex passed, I heard it all. And I give people grace because grief is hard. Grief is hard on obviously the person who lost their loved one, but grief is hard for your inner circle, for family members. Sometimes people don't have the words. They say the wrong things. Oh, they're in a better place. And, so really, I just extend grace to everybody.
Mm.
I appreciate and I take in their love language because everybody has different love languages. And even though, a week after she passed, I probably had 100 casseroles in my refrigerator. I wasn't going to deny someone their love language. I wasn't going to deny someone their act of wanting to participate however they could. And really, I've learned in those moments just to give somebody a hug. I'm such a big hugger, but just to give somebody that comfort, because I feel like when you do that, you're telling this person by just a hug that I don't have the words. I don't think anybody has the words, but I'm here for you. I'm here to support you, whatever it is that you need. And, if I can be of some comfort knowing that what I have gone through and where I'm at today, it is possible to keep moving forward. And even in a more deeper connection with my faith, with what I'm doing, because I feel like with our faith, there's so many different levels. And I felt like with Alex, our faith was getting so much stronger. But I realized, and this was only just maybe a couple months ago, that I think my faith has been very surface level. And
Mhm.
I really now am being so intentional, and God is moving me into this active faith where it's not as passive. It's not like just checking off, okay, I did my devotional, I did my Bible studies. Look at me. I'm such a good Christian. I'm going to church. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But like I now am really like in the trenches with my prayer, and I think reading this book, have you read of Fervent with Priscilla Scherer, who was in the war room?
No, but I love Priscilla.
Okay, this is life changing, life
Okay.
changing. You need to get her book, Fervent. And it just talks about our prayer life and just taking it to a whole next level. And I feel like, wow, God is not only equipping me with his armor in the morning before I can go out and, do whatever it is that he wants me to do, but he's also just helping me be more intentional with my prayer and really meeting people where they need to be with their prayer life. And I've had a couple of really good, strong prayer warrior girlfriends in my life where it never clicked with me before how I would send them a prayer, and this one gal in particular, she'd be like, "I'm on it, Jody. I'm on my knees. I'm blah, 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 blah. I'm covering you. I'm covering the situation in prayer." And I just thought, wow, that's really active. That's really cool. But now I understand what she was doing because in this book, it really shows you that intensity that with your prayer life. And if you're really connecting with God, it can be so much more meaningful and so much more deeper. So I know I kind of got off on a tangent, but this is so strong, this book. So I highly, highly recommend it because it has changed my whole prayer world.
No, I love that. Before I ask my last question, I'd love for you to put out the website, Jody, and just share how others could get involved in the foundation, learn more, connect with you.
Yes, I love this because we are coming up to May, which May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month. So it's a
Okay.
perfect for people to get connected, to get educated, create that awareness. My website is www.alexhudsonlymefoundation.org. And on that website is my contact information, email, phone number. There's also a link to my book. And yes, I do respond to every email, to every call. Even 8 years later, I'm getting calls from people that just read about Alex's story. Someone in their family has just been diagnosed with Lyme disease and they don't know where to start. And it takes me back to 2017 when I asked the doctor, what is Lyme disease? So I want to be able to help others, give them a leg up because I just didn't have that with Alex.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. So my last question is always ties back to the show in the sense of if I ever live to be. So, for example, one of my favorite examples to share is Brave, right? Because I feel like Brave is an ongoing thing. We don't ever just arrive to being brave. I think we have to make that decision every single day. So, Jody, when you look back at your life and you take into consideration Alex and her struggle and her journey, what do you want to be known for? What does Jody want to live to be?
This is really easy to say for me because I never wanted to be defined by my past. I never wanted to be defined as a grief girl. I always wanted for others to see God's light in me.
Mm,
And so I want to be that light. I want people to be able to look at me and say, you know what? I see God in her and I want that too.
yeah. Well, I will tell you that I think you're certainly accomplishing that. Thanks for coming on, for being brave to share your story and those ugly little parts, right? We think that there are so many ugly parts in our lives, but I think we all have ugly parts and we can just feel a little bit better with sharing that and going, okay, yeah, if God used you and um, didn't abandon you, then he'll do the same for me. So I think that's sometimes how we feel is we look at God and we're like, wow, I'm really ugly. And he's like, beautiful to me, baby.
You know what? We're all pieces of clay and he just keeps molding us to his perfection. And it's beautiful what, we are going to be at the end. And I saw that with Alex, how beautiful she was during her final moment. So he still is forming us, but if we walk with him, it's going to be beautiful.
Yes. Thanks so much for coming on today, Jody.
Thank you so much for having me, Whitney. I appreciate it.